have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
We're under arrest.
I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
Так вот, не первый раз я вам говорю, что вы провалились.
Well, now for the first time I can tell you that you're a disaster.
So they said they were walking out the press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
And we can make sure that the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. In short, we need a great reset.
I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Hey everyone, it's episode 6 of Stateside Safari. I'm here with Cosmic Marauder. How you going, bro?
It's good, man. That's the first time I've ever seen your intro video, and it's fucking awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I do that. I try to like mash together a few bits and pieces. Like over the time, like I'll try and get some like bloopers and shit and try and feed them in there over time. But to start with, I just thought, I'll just go through history and see how many criminals I can find and put them on blast for a sec. Because I mean, some of them moments in there people don't even know exist. Like the whole like the Joe Biden sitting there talking about Victor Shokin and the prosecutor he got fired and stuff. People deny that to this day. Like, so I figured why not just put that in every single bumper.
Did that one guy?
Some of it was just for shits and giggles.
Did that one guy say, "Quit grabbing my dick"?
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually, that was a standout one. Like I was looking for an excuse to include that because it's not even that was a case that happened in Australia back in the 80s, and there was this guy who was just like this. He's a super character. He's still alive now. There was an interview with him not long ago, but he was like, he got done for, they accused him of international crime for something, and like that. The police went into this restaurant and grabbed him while he was pissed up on this, and because he's this like actor guy, he puts on these characters and uses fake names and shit. He's just funny. You should see. You should see. I'll send you the link to the interview afterwards because he's a character. Nice. But I pulled up your because we're simulcasting to your Rumble channel as well. So I pulled up your chat on the side here so I can see that as well. But today I figured that we would go through the JFK assassination, even though I don't really know heaps and heaps about it. I figured it's a fun story. It's surrounded in a lot of other fun stories. So let's get into it. There's things like Operation Northwoods. I'm not sure if people have heard of that. I know a bunch of people have, but I think we should just probably go into a little bit of that, and just in case they haven't. I'm sort of not sure yet whether or not I will show the ZAPRUDER film in full because I'm on Twitch at the moment, and I know they're a bit funny about that sort of stuff. So
Or a little
I don't know. I
touchy.
might just a little touchy, and so is YouTube. So I might just I don't know. I might just like go up to the moment, and then it's linked down below. Daniel, man, welcome. You're not late. We've just started. So yeah, I've linked actually below in the description. I've linked the original ZAPRUDER film, the enhanced and slowed version, and a bunch of other stuff like Executive Order 11110 with regard to the issuance of silver certificates under the authority of the Department of Treasury instead of the Federal Reserve. So there's some information down there. It's not like extensive, but it's a start. There is a lot of talk that was the cause. The Operation Northwoods was another idea. And then you sent me a couple of interesting videos. Like the first time they showed it on TV was with, what's his name?
Geraldo.
What's his name? Geraldo
Rivera.
Geraldo.
The infamous
Yeah, that's
Geraldo
it.
Rivera and the Dick Gregory, who is likely a CIA plant himself. But that's an incredible story. That guy, how he allegedly got a hold of that film and just he's said some wacky shit from time to time. Just in the last year or two, he claimed that there's two Trumps. There's a clone Trump and a real Trump.
Oh yeah, those sort of things go out. Those sort of like that's been happening with like presidents since forever. Since like, but there was several Obamas. There's been several like Bushes. There were several Clintons. I'm sure it goes back further than that. But yeah, because they're all supposed to be lizards or something, right?
I'm not sure how I feel about the idea. I don't know how I feel about the idea of presidents and clones and having extra ones just set to go. Now, I do think there's multiple Bin Ladens, right? I do think there are.
Oh, yeah, that's a little different. That's a little different.
Yeah. But in terms of
that's
yeah, I think in America, Manchurian candidates that are developed internally are most likely how it tends to go. Biden, I think there's a real case as to whether they're using actors with Biden and Fetterman 100%. Fetterman's a whack job. Have you seen that?
They are. Yeah. But like, do you think you really think they're using stand-ins?
They could be using stand-in. I think they're doing a test run. I do believe in this one thing. It's funny we're talking about JFK in this regard also, but I do think there are certain technologies or techniques that intelligence agencies will use that just catch kind of like just become in favor and become very popular. And they're like, hey, let's just try this out. Maybe they're trying all this shit out the last 5 or 10 years, like other events.
Well, slightly off topic, and I have got it in the list because it's sort of slightly off topic, but sort of still relevant with regards to manipulating people. And it sort of also ties into this latest UFO, UAP craze as well. I've got a really fascinating video later on that sort of would cast a lot of doubt over the latest sort of the hubbub and all of these. It's a neat explanation for a lot of sightings that are otherwise attributed to off-world intelligence. It's apparently very much not so. And I'll go into that in a little bit. But yeah, you might have seen it's a clip from Danny Jones' KONCRETE podcast. And obviously I'm not going to go into the whole thing because it was 2 hours long, but the actual episode is fascinating. I think I've also, if I haven't linked that below, I will, because it's an amazing episode. Hold on. For anyone who thinks Operation Northwoods would never be implemented, they need to look up the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Yeah.
There's so many.
Right.
The USS Liberty a few years after this.
Yes, the Liberty, which just got sent back to the Mediterranean, right?
I think so. And I need to know more about this. Maybe somebody in the chat will know, but there's a very funny figure I've been looking into regarding the Kennedy assassination. I was looking at Aristotle Onassis. And one thing I wanted to know about is, I mean, like I said, it's probably really obvious and I might already know the answer, but was the USS Liberty a quote Liberty ship? Because there's a certain style of ship that we mass produced, and we made like tens of thousands of them in a few year period.
What do you mean that was like the class of ship?
That was like the
It
it was like it was meant to be like a quick mass-produced like warship that we could do for super cheap.
So that was the model class,
Yeah,
not just the name. Okay,
right. And then Aristotle Onassis happened. Aristotle Onassis happened to purchase about 50 or 60 of these ships immediately post World War II, and quickly developed like one of the world's largest shipping fleets with the help of that purchase. So I just thought that was interesting.
There's always the money when you follow that, it always goes back to familiar hands.
Old world's money.
Yeah. Maybe a bit slow in the chat, by the way. I got to cook dinner. No, you're great. You're good, Dan. It's all good. Cook away. We're just shooting the shit here, and I think I'll go into where should I start? First of all, I should just maybe rattle off what the official narrative is, just to get that down on paper first. Now I had that summarized real quick here. Where did I have that? The official theory of JFK assassination, as concluded by the Warren Commission in 1964, posits that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated by a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, on November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. Full stop. According to this theory, Oswald fired 3 shots from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, and as the presidential motorcade passed through Dealey Plaza, the commission determined that the 2nd and 3rd shots hit Kennedy, with the final shot being fatal, striking him in the head. The Warren Commission's findings state that Oswald acted alone, both in the assassination of President Kennedy and the subsequent killing of Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit. The commission based its conclusions on ballistic evidence, eyewitness accounts, and Oswald's known Marxist sympathies and defection to the Soviet Union. Despite conclusion of the Warren Commission, the assassination has been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories suggesting alternate scenarios, including multiple shooters and involvement by various organizations and governments. However, the official narrative remains that Oswald was the sole perpetrator in this pivotal and tragic moment in American history. So that was clearly a ChatGPT response, but I wanted it in 2 paragraphs or less.
Nice.
Hit my eye.
AI is incredible.
And,
now.
like, hey,
I said AI is incredible now. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got do you have like the GPT-4? It does pretty much anything you want it to now. It's woke though. You got to argue with it to get like, if you want to like most things it's fine with, and it's really incredible what it can do. Like, for example, the Operation Northwoods, I'll show you it right here actually. I've got the PDF here. Where is it? Doc 1. So the PDF here, it's in a raster format, so I can't select this text. And like, although AI is pretty clever at understanding the text from raster images, it couldn't really cope with all of this text. So, but I did save it as like, I did a text to like in Adobe Acrobat, I like converted this to text, and then it was able to understand it and just like spit out some dot points for me. Like, what are the 5 most alarming things about this document? And it's really all down here on page 10, like where they go into the whole idea is, I'll start from the top. This is Operation Northwoods. This is a declassified document that I'm not sure when it was declassified, but it's been verified as true. You can find it on Wikipedia because they're like, true, right about everything. But, it is there. So what this means in the top secret, special handling. So that's 2 levels of classification. So that's top secret and then special handling above that. And then it's got no foreign, which means no foreign eyes are allowed to read this. So even including allies, nothing. And the whole thing is the subject is the justification for US military intervention in Cuba. It goes on about like there's a whole like preamble and stuff, and it's just a bit boring. Half of it's, you could kind of make that out, but this is all sort of boring until you get to about page 10, where it actually starts listing out the things that they are thinking of doing. Like, where is it?
Oh, the radio.
Since it would seem desirable to use legitimate provocation as the basis for US military intervention in Cuba, a cover and deception plan to include requisite preliminary actions such as have been developed in response, blah, 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 blah. Where's it go? A series of well-coordinated incidents will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces. Incidents to establish a credible attack, not in chronological order. 1. Start rumors. Many. Use clandestine radio. 2. Land friendly Cubans in uniform over the fence to stage an attack on the base. 3. Capture Cuban-friendly saboteurs inside the base. Start riots near the base main gate. Blow up ammunition inside the base and start fires. Burn an aircraft on the airbase. Lob mortar shells from outside of base into the base. Some damage to installation. So just wreck the shit. Capture assault teams approaching from the sea or vicinity of Guantanamo City. Capture militia group which storms the base. Sabotage ship in harbor, large fires. Sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims. So fake funerals for fake victims. United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten the base. Commence large-scale United States military operations. 3. Remember the main incident could be arranged in several forms. A. We could blow up a US ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. B. We could blow up a drone, unmanned vessel anywhere in the Cuban waters. We could arrange to cause such an incident in the vicinity of Havana or Santiago as a spectacular result of Cuban attack from the air or sea or both. The presence of Cuban planes or ships merely investigating the intent of the vessel could be fairly compelling evidence that the ship was taken under attack. The nearness to Havana or Santiago would add credibility, especially to those people that might have heard the blast or have seen the fire. The US could follow up with an air or sea rescue operation covered by US fighters to evacuate, in quotes, remaining members of the non-existent crew. Casualty lists in the US papers would cause a helpful wave of national indignation. We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. I could go on, but we'd probably go like forever. I think there was like, at one point they even suggest in here, like again, it's linked below to go through yourself, but I think they even suggest at one point in here that they attack actual people. It's not off the table. Hey, we've got some more messages here. We've got Grifty's in the house. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Grifty?
And what else we got here? Daniel saying Liberty ships were World War II cargo ships. The USS Liberty was a spy ship, though.
Thanks for the clarification.
Because that was the one that got... No, I don't want to go too heavy into this because it's like, I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this shit or not. All the rules seem to be off today, these days. Like, wasn't that attacked by Israel, and like it was like it's supposed to be like they claimed it was a mistake, but then they were like bombing the shit out of it for like 2 hours
basically. And if you believe some of the rumblings that happened in Pearl Harbor, you know, about us knowing about the attack beforehand and allowing certain things to happen, you could kind of see how that may have happened.
Well, I mean, that document sort of demonstrates their willingness to do that back in the 60s. Now, to tie this into this topic, this was not signed off on by President Kennedy. However, I want to sort of like clear up a little bit of like misconception. It could easily be like the way I understand this is that the Joint Chiefs of Staff were tasked to come up with ideas at the direction of the executive, which was at the time President Kennedy. Of which of those many ideas that came up, this was one of them that he rejected. So people look at him as like a hero of sorts because he rejected this plan. But it could also be very true that he was the one that ordered the the plan in the first place. Well, the collection of ideas. I mean, so, and who knows what. I also think of, like, not to say that it was a great thing that he was assassinated at all, but I wonder how things would have gone differently if he wasn't. Like, he was an interesting character. I know a lot of people think of him as a hero, but he was also a Freemason. He's from a huge dynastic family. The Kennedys are still to this day a hugely powerful family.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get into the whole like story of Aristotle Onassis because I just sort of thought of this idea the other day, but I know you did a bit of looking around. But first, I wanted to have it because you said the other day that you had like a little personal story about your granddad.
Well, I do a little bit because I had
You want to share it?
Yeah, I could just talk about him. He was quite a character in my life, but he was basically drafted into World War II at about. Okay, he wasn't drafted. His father was drafted, right? His father was of age. He was 15 years old at the time. So somehow he forged enough documents to go into the Navy under his father's name so he could stay at home and run the little farm and own the property and all that, because his brother had also got drafted too. So his brother went and fought.
So he was supposed to be drafted, but he got out of it sneakily.
No, his dad was supposed to be drafted, and his son, my grandfather, snuck in place of his dad, my great-grandfather.
Aha, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
So he spent some time in the Pacific Theater, and I don't know what he did to excel so much in his job, but they plucked him out of World War II, post-World War II, and put him in Korea, and he was part of the foundation of the Organized Secret Service, or the OSS, which is the precursor to the modern-day CIA. And he would just have all these different stories to tell us. And I think the last, sorry, losing my voice a little bit. What was that last false flag thing we just looked at? Not the Liberty. I'm already blanking what we just...
Operation Northwoods.
Northwoods. So one of the big bases for that plan was the radio kind of propaganda thing. And they were doing a lot of that in Guatemala. And they overthrew the government of Guatemala with like a few hundred Marines and some radio transmissions. And so my grandfather also personally spent a lot of time doing things in Guatemala, like cleaning up potentially with the labor union leaders that were not pro-America or in favor of our policy. So he probably assassinated a couple of folks in Guatemala. He claimed that he was stationed a block or two away from where Bugsy Siegel was assassinated in LA. And he always made some weird comments around the JFK assassination. And I don't know how much credence you give all these thoughts, but I know that that community out in East Texas is pretty tight. E. Howard Hunt was from there too.
Someone has to be responsible.
And he got all these jobs in Carlsbad that he wasn't exactly qualified for, but like post Korea, he got a job as like the potash plant manager in Carlsbad. Just was placed into that, lived a quiet life, and didn't just stayed under the radar his whole life, and always had money from somewhere, but lived pretty modestly. So I don't know what's exactly true. I kind of buy the Bugsy Siegel bit more than anything else. And the Guatemala story is probably true, but I just want to know how tight all those former, like, think about all those men that came from that region that were drafted into World War II, who obviously grew up and knew the Dulles brothers or the Dulles family and other. You just never know what kind of connections were made back, with just random kids being drafted into World War II and entering the military.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's not too much, but it's just kind of my personal. It says me down my own personal deep dives.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's always like, I mean, with these sorts of things as well, like they're not going to go and get someone who's like super well known to do these things either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you want it to be unbelievable. And
it's like the key to Epstein and the key to JFK is probably some random dude in the middle of nowhere, with no money to his name.
Yeah. I've just put up the last call. I've set that little alarm was because I'm just a bit anti-Twitter, a bit anti-Elon Musk. I don't really want, and no one watches on the damn Twitter anyway. But
No,
I'm
not
going
really.
to just so what I'm doing is like I was doing the first 15 minutes, but I realized there's really nothing of value in 15 minutes. So I'm going to not what the way I talk anyway. But I figured I'd do the first 30 minutes and then the rest just everywhere else. I just cut Twitter after that. I don't
do
know.
something
That's just my little
similar.
protest.
I do that to
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. You do the same thing with YouTube, right? I'd love to do it with YouTube, but I'm still like, I don't know, man. I'm growing. I want to get to like 1,000. I want to get monetized.
Good
At
luck,
least, and then
man.
I know, but I don't care really beyond that. And you need like what, 500 or 1,000. You only need 500 now to be able for
500
people to be able
now.
to super chat. So people can super chat you after that. After that,
That's
I don't really
good.
care. Yeah.
Dude, I got to 980 and they sicked all the dogs on me. That's when all my past videos were getting flagged and I was just done after that.
What was what were the ones that would get? Oh, I suppose you can't really say without getting me flagged.
No, I mean, it was honestly, if January 6th never happened, my show would be fine. My old channel would have been fine.
Okay. Because there was a lot of really, really like unusual, arbitrary punishment around that.
I would show CNN
broadcast.
The CNN live broadcast that I streamed of the riot. That was like the biggest thing that fucked me. I was so surprised. I'm like, this is, yeah. Anyway, I was covering it live, you know.
Someone just posted, like Grifty, I think posted just before. It was like, oh damn, I don't know if I even retweeted it, but it was just like a bunch of feds, obvious feds going down, like marching down the street in like Nazi uniforms. Where was it? Breaking extreme night. Here it is.
Oh, today? I heard about this.
Yeah, on Twitter. What is this? Hold on.
I love everybody's minds breaking on Israel. That is my favorite fucking shit, is the left becoming the right and the right becoming the left.
I haven't, like, I've deliberately avoided the Israel-Palestine thing because it's just like, this is a thing that, I know, this is the thing that goes for like, for thousands of years that place has been war-torn. And like, people are trying to get into the nuances of it now. And it's like, you guys are not going to convince each other this week. Like this is
yeah, it's
this
too
is
late.
a long battle, but since like, yeah, it's too late. But I'm just gonna have a look at this at risk of, well, anything really.
This is
haven't
funny.
seen this.
I love the colors.
Yeah.
Very.
Hold on,
communist.
what did Grifty say? Let's go do some racism. Okay. Breaking in, extreme neo-Nazi group called the Blood Tribe has been spotted marching on the streets carrying swastika flags. Where though?
Oh,
Wisconsin.
That's not an extreme neo-Nazi group.
Madison,
that's a
Wisconsin.
WWE faction. The Blood Tribe. Who's Roman Reigns?
Numerous
group?
witnesses reported seeing a seat. Okay, that's it for you, Twitter. I'm gonna say goodbye. If you want to see the rest of this stream, follow us on YouTube or Rumble or Twitch or Kick. Come on YouTube so you can interact with the chat. Yeah, and you'll find me at Daniel Clancy / at YouTube, or you'll find everything at danielclancy.live. And I'm gonna end this there.
Peace.
Fucking Twitter. All right. So where was I at?
These feds.
Blah, blah, blah. These feds carrying and waving swastika flags as they gathered outside the Wisconsin Capitol and marched through downtown Madison, Wisconsin this Saturday afternoon. The group is reportedly called the Blood Tribe, an extreme neo-Nazi group known for their extreme political views and behaviors. Oh, I'm sure they are. All four of them.
Oh, man. They're never going to get rid of this one either.
Look at these bumbling retards.
Ever since
Probably don't even
OKC. This is hilarious. I like the cowboy hat guy, like Invisible Man.
Look how like pretty like identical. They all like pretty much the same build as like field agents, except for that guy maybe.
What?
Yeah,
It must be
I don't buy
wild
that
to.
for a second.
How do you get into that part of the FBI? Is that where the idiots go? They put you into like.
I reckon it is. I think it is. Like if you see, hold on, hey Carmen, we've got Carmen Smith Studer.
Oh, hey Carmen.
It's a great idea to go live on Twitter. I did, yeah, it is. It's to grab the people in, because it's got like it's got broad reach there for the notification effect, but no one's sitting there because it's so Twitter's all fleeting content. So when someone sees something that is like a live stream, like the longest time I've ever seen people pay attention on Twitter is to Twitter Spaces, and even those people are like, they're sort of struggling with
Twitter Spaces.
Yeah, well, I was sort of stuck in one earlier this morning about the MH370 thing because did you see that footage that's getting it's getting a whole lot more attention. This guy Ashton Forbes, he follows me back on
what happened though? What's
YouTube.
The news on it?
Have you seen the Thank you, Carmen. I appreciate that. And we've got Uncle Ivor's here too.
Ivor, what's up, Ivor?
That's Uncle Ivor marching in the little Nazi band. Get a degree and go to Quantico. Oh, is that how you get into this? I don't like Twitter Spaces either. Yeah. They're too busy and catty and hectic. But where was I going?
Hey Daniel, I'm gonna go refill my coffee just really quick, okay?
Yeah, sure. Can't remember what I was saying. I do not remember, but I think what happens is these guys like you get like have you ever seen like traffic cops, right? And then you get like the guys on the voice, not the voice, on the bike. Voice in my mind. Yeah, these traffic cops that are on the bike and they're alone because no one wants to work with them, and they're the worst ones to get pulled over by. And I think, thank you, Carmen. That's great of you. I love Carmen. She was a guest the other week on my channel. And
what is she known for exactly? I'm just barely getting familiar with her.
She's a life coach, but she does she's done all sorts of work in that area. But I know her mainly. I already set the alarm. Shut up. I sort of knew her from the Eliza Blue and the podcast circuit with all that. She's on Chrissy Mann's podcast quite a lot, and that's how I got to know her and a bunch of others that I'm hoping to have on eventually. I think I'll have Chrissy on soon at some point. She said she would come on, but haven't actually asked her yet. I was hoping to get this settled a little bit. Thanks, Carmen. She's such a sweet lady. I love Carmen. But yeah, I just wanted to get this down. Like now that I've got the StreamYard thing, I can take this banner down as well because we're off Twitter. Yeah. What was I talking about? Anyway, let's get into one of these things. What should we watch first? Should we watch the Geraldo, excuse me.
Yes, people will love that. I think I love watching old like VHS style recordings of stuff on YouTube. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, it's like lost media sort of stuff.
Like mall footage. Do you ever watch mall footage from the 80s? That's a good one.
Yeah. Do you get into the back rooms like Kane Pixels? It's fake. Like it's an AI. It's not even an AIG. It's just a drama. It's an internet drama, but like it's this young guy and he does like really great renders of like old VHS footage style stuff, and it's become this whole lore, and there's computer games and stuff made out of it and everything. But it started as just this viral thing on YouTube by this young guy. He's like 25 or something. He goes by Kane Pixels. His name's Kane Parsons, and
that's cool.
It's just it's cool, and he's like. It's all about what do you call it? Liminal spaces. So like spaces that seem familiar but like sort of also foreign and like imposing and a little bit daunting, but like that go on forever, like expansive spaces with no one in them. They're kind of like liminal spaces. We saw a lot of them in like during the lockdowns, like cities became liminal spaces because they were just so unusual to see
Yeah.
places like of human population just empty and deserted. So like it was a play on that, but it was around before lockdowns. So like it just became hugely popular throughout the lockdowns because that
IRL
sort of genre
streaming
just took
kind of
off.
came back, I think, during lockdowns, just because people were like, "What? You're outside?"
Definitely. Well, like I mean, heaps of great podcasts that I watch now are still that they started during the lockdowns. I wanted to do that too, but like spoiler alert, the vault is empty. What vault?
The JFK
I don't know.
vault, the brain vault.
Oh, right. Cosmic was right about Eliza. Yeah, you were.
Oh man, and they were
I take my
viciously
hat on that one.
after me, man, with Eliza. That was my second canceling.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And I'm glad I'm grateful for all that. Like I'm grateful that all went down. It was stressful at the time because my phone was blowing up a lot. But it was a Geraldo joke. Okay.
Oh.
Got it. So let's jump to this thing. This is the first time ZAPRUDER film was shown on national TV. I think this is like the first time Americans had seen it, right?
It was.
So I keep calling him Geraldo.
I think that this is
Just
like
gonna-
one of the biggest psyops of all time, because the fact that this was the only footage for years that we've seen and it's only one angle, I mean, come on, are we really going to pretend that the limo driver didn't do it or what? You know?
Well, there's some interesting, like there's footage on the Secret Service stand down that I'm going to go into in a sec. But that was apparently orders of the president. How do we verify that? I don't know. He's no longer here. So, but there is obvious footage where they're standing down and it's a little bit odd. So this goes for 20 minutes. I'm not sure how much of this will do. Maybe I'll show the stand down one first because that's actually,
Okay.
that's quicker. And then I'll
Whatever
do
you
this
wanna
one.
do.
So the Secret Service, since you mentioned it, here's the Secret Service stand down. Is it? Yeah, this is the one. Okay.
I just don't think there's no way Oswald did it.
It is hard to believe. Like it's not impossible to believe. I was saying this with Ivor yesterday, but because Ivor thinks it's.
Oh yeah,
Ivor believes
Ivor
Oswald
hates
did it.
conspiracies.
Yeah, he does, but we love him. We love him anyway.
Yeah, we do.
That's why he's Uncle Ivor. And it's not impossible to believe that Oswald did it, but it's difficult to believe, and even Ivor will concede that.
Everything seemed normal as the president's Secret Service bodyguards kept their
Can you hear that?
ever-watchful eyes on the crowd.
Yes.
Where is he?
Everything seemed normal as the president's motorcade began its journey.
That bitch did it. I'm just kidding.
Jackie.
Everything seemed
I don't know,
that
maybe.
is up until this instant. What took place is so odd that we're going to examine the scene 4 more
See his
times.
confusion. What? So, like, I want to interject before we go further because I have to transform this, otherwise I get dinged. The story is that Kennedy didn't want the human shield in the way because he didn't want to seem out of touch, and he was already hated by Texans. Seems like a strange request when you're in a dangerous area where you're already hated. But apparently that was the story, but that didn't seem to be communicated well to the Secret Service unit or the follow-up car, who seems utterly bewildered at that point. Like, look at him; he's sort of shrugging his shoulders. And
this instant.
Yeah. Also,
what took place is
if
so
I may,
odd.
I think that this is like very suspect that he would agree to having that top down.
Right.
I think it's pretty well known fact that he dodged multiple assassination attempts prior to this. I think that we can
Is
go
that
ahead
true?
and say that. I think that that's in intelligence files, and
I mean, I think every president does, but is that public? Like, were they like public, like sensational things, like how they shot Reagan and he survived.
There's this one investigative journalist named Mae Brussel who was onto the JFK stuff in the 60s and 70s, and there's this file called the Gemstone File, and it's fucking nuts. It sounds like an Austin Powers on steroids kind of freaking plot, but it involved like the creation of synthetic rubies. It involved Aristotle Onassis and Meyer Lansky and a lot of other Jewish gangsters throughout the country, and drug running and hooking up the Kennedys with bootleg alcohol. Like, there's so much tied up in that one little Gemstone File conspiracy theory that it's, I think it's very, if you believe the outline of that, he was like dodging these left and right. It was super paranoid.
Oswald will be a member of Antifa these days.
He was an MK Ultra subject. He knew Charles Manson allegedly. Do you believe that Manson researcher? Ted Kaczynski was.
He knew Charles Manson. Yeah, from MIT, right?
Yeah. If you believe that that journalist that just came out, Chaos, who wrote that book Chaos, that Rogan is featured on there, I think he said they spent time in the same jail together in LA at a certain point after he got back from Mexico. And also Charles Manson spent time in Mexico at the same. It's a big, crazy story.
That's a bit coincidental.
In the scene 4 more
and
times.
Sirhan was, oh man.
Watch the left side of your screen. The arrow points to Agent in Charge, Amory Roberts, as he stands in the Secret Service follow-up car and motions with his hand. What he is doing is calling away the president's 2 most important bodyguards, the bodyguards whose job was to protect the president's back by riding on the bumper of the limousine throughout the motorcade.
So confused. And it's like completely naked now, except for this guy.
He stands and orders the agents running at the rear of the president's car away. Watch the confusion inside the follow-up car that results.
It's too weird.
You're setting it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how it appears.
Now watch the right side of your screen.
Was it the Archduke?
Arrow points 1 of 2
of like
agents.
Hungary assassinated in a motorcade back in the day? Or what was the Serb?
No, that was the Pope. The Pope. They tried to kill the Pope in his little buggy. Is that what you're thinking? The Pope John Paul II.
Well, I was just thinking there was another prime minister, another world leader that was kind of assassinated a similar way, like 30 years or more before.
Yeah.
Fucking
Job
CIA.
was to hop aboard the bumper and act as human shields. He's obviously perplexed. Watch as he shrugs his shoulders 3 times in dismay, each shrug more dramatic than the last.
It's like, it's over. We tried.
Right. Yeah, I think they're just going to keep repeating the same thing. So you get the point there. But that was the Secret Service stand down, which I found really interesting. Yeah, like that later explained that as it was Kennedy's request, but do you believe that? Like, I don't know if I believe that. So let's try this other one. Let's go through a bit of the one that you sent me.
Geraldo, the legend.
Geraldo.
The Mockingbird media legend.
I see him all the time. I should fucking remember his name. Geraldo. But it's spelled Geraldo. So
it's Geraldo.
Geraldo.
He's Puerto Rican, not Mexican.
Comedians, but it would really be a grave injustice to leave his introduction with that one simple statement, because he's a complex man, a humanitarian who lectures and writes extensively in the interest of human rights and social justice. His comedy doesn't just make people laugh.
Transatlantic accent.
Please welcome Dick
He's a CIA agent too.
He's like what's his name? The gay one from CNN.
Oh, Cooper. He's Jewish too, by the way.
He's being a person with a pretty high energy level, but nothing compared to you. I mean, how many concert gigs did you
That's
do?
right,
How many
Ivor.
appearances at colleges did you do last year?
I make about 310 every 10 months.
Oh man, how do you find the energy, the strength to do it? It's incredible. You must live half your life in an airplane.
Half my life in an airplane, but I don't eat. You know, when I eat, I
That's
find
the
out my
secret.
energy.
That's logical. How did you get involved in this, in the circumstances concerning and surrounding the death of President Kennedy?
I've been involved with it since the first day, accidentally. I was at home, and when the news came over the wire that President Kennedy had been shot, I thought that had we had radio and the communication system when Abraham Lincoln was shot, how valuable would tapes be? 1963 of Lincoln. So I put on all my radios, all my televisions, and started taping. About 4 hours into taping, I start hearing the same people being interviewed again. And what they said the first time had changed.
What's he going on about?
And the only common denominator was that they had talked to the Secret Service. And from that point on, I was a little suspicious.
Let's just
when things start coming out that we didn't know before, that the parade route had been changed. And then when you find out that Lee Harvey Oswald, the day that President Kennedy made an announcement he was going to Dallas, and right after that, he got a job at the book depository. Now, if the parade route wasn't planning on going that way, then he had set himself up in the wrong location, or he knew something. Now, if Lee Harvey Oswald do not have the ability and the power and the rank and position to change the parade route, then who did? And from that point, I started, really looking into it.
Does anybody know what the hell?
Very brilliant.
It's a book depository. Is that a library? Is that a fancy term for like a library?
I think it's more like the library of the libraries. Like I think maybe it's like where they go to buy the libraries. All the libraries will go there to buy the books. Maybe
it's like the
I don't
library.
know. I'm making that
store.
up. Welcome, Arnie. Arnie, I think you're new here. Thanks for coming. And remember when Obama gave his speech as POTUS and the CNC of the US? Hold on. What's this? The CNC. What's that?
I don't know.
He said that's a riddle of the US. He said we need a military as well trained and equipped as the US military. What was he? Hold on, I don't I mean, can you maybe explain that a bit?
I understand the second part, but he was saying he made a direct call to like DNC or his followers to become militarized. As militarized as
right.
He just said it in his fancy, soul speech.
I gotcha. Excuse me, sorry.
One of my exes cheated on me with a guy that looked like Geraldo.
Sorry about that.
That's
She's
terrible.
gonna be jealous. It's kind of
ruined news for him for a generation.
Oh man, these lights are hot. Fucking hell. Anyway, it's just a huge warehouse. It's just a huge warehouse. All books from all the schools in Dallas went there. Oh, so it's like the leftovers. Why would you need staff?
London at the time, named Ralph Shunman, who had also been looking into it. And as I started meeting various people that was looking for something else, I found out that there was a whole occult out here that didn't believe it. But we just kept looking and kept waiting for the press. And then when they said they would have the Warren Commission, they stopped everything because we knew that these loose ends would be tied in, and they never were.
Mm-hmm.
I want to introduce another guest. We have Robert.
Now that the Warren Commission, that's just been like the classification on those redacted documents has just been renewed for another like 60 years or something, hasn't it been?
I think so.
So like the classification is for everything is usually like 80 years or something, or 50 years or something stupid. I don't know. There's a set time on it where it expires and it has to be reapplied for before that expiration date. Otherwise it becomes available under FOIA requests and shit like that. So it was just recently renewed so that they can keep it under wraps for another, I don't know how many generations, 2 or 3. And then they'll just renew it again.
I was just going to say that there's been no bigger L the government has ever took other than releasing the Warren Commission report and having the majority of Americans not believe it.
Well,
today.
the same thing is with the 9/11 Commission. Like, there's bits of redacted information out of that, and even the like the whole NIST reporting and stuff was all bogus and stupid and very just incredible, like just not credible. And that's the National Institute of Standards, like, and Technology. So that's like what I don't know, like that model that they showed of Building 7 and the collapse of that. It was just like
Building 7's hilarious.
From like what, sporadic fires? Like, this is a heavily fortified building, like beyond a regular tower.
I love how people want to pretend that they didn't report it was collapsing 25 minutes before it happened.
And then this whole like, oh well, let's just, and then they're totally fine with, like, once they sort of stumble through a few inconvenient facts that they're sort of half ignoring, they go, oh well, they must have just demolished it. That's so simple. Like, no, it's not. It takes a long, you can't just demolish a building like that uniformly in the space of an hour, especially if it's already on fire. Like, you can't do that. You got to go in, find all the core columns, put in shape charges. It's a big operation.
You got to sit in the dancing Israelis.
Huh?
You got to sit in the dancing Israelis. You know, it takes time. It takes a whole preparation.
Was it seen like an old cotton warehouse, huge freight elevators? Yeah, it's like everything. Like, isn't everything on Dealey Plaza like perfectly like what do they call it? Kept the same, like as back as it was in 1963, and everything like exactly the same, like on Dealey Plaza. Didn't they try and preserve it as much as possible? I don't know.
It's definitely it's a whole tourist trap. I imagine that they kind of did, you know.
I've got one video here of this guy that got I'll finish this one.
Celebrating his 18th.
Before I get, but I've got a video of a guy that got arrested for talking about conspiracies about JFK. And he was just basically going out on the street and putting a cross mark. He was painting markings on the street where he was shot. And they dug up, instead of just removing the paint, they dug up the whole part of the street. And they said, why? Oh, because they people could have tripped over it with this bit of paint.
Was that Mark Dice?
No. It was long before him.
Oh, okay.
This was a while ago, and it was a case where I'll let the video explain it, but like basically it was just a minor misdemeanor, and usually appeals for that never get challenged by the state, but this one, all of us, for whatever reason, was just for this tiny little. Can't remember how they phrased it. I'll get
Birthday on the 22nd of November in 1963. He was profoundly touched by the president's death, and he desperately wanted to understand how it could have happened. For 2 years, he, like most Americans, believed in the official version, the Warren Commission version of what happened. But the day he first saw that 8mm ZAPRUDER film, that amateur film that was made, that was the day he stopped believing. Robert, welcome. I wish you could set up the ZAPRUDER film a bit for us, and we'll get right into it.
I love it.
Abraham ZAPRUDER was a Dallas dress manufacturer, and it was pure accident that he brought the camera with him that day. He almost didn't. And he was looking for a good vantage point, and he picked a point on Elm Street in Dealey Plaza in downtown Dallas. As the motorcade passed in front of him, he got what is frame for frame the most valuable historical document of all time.
It's become very chic among television producers to put a disclaimer at the head of any film. The film you're about to see might be shocking, it might be horrifying, you might not want your kids to watch it. And I think the unfortunate net effect of that is to make more people watch it. Well,
this isn't age restricted.
I'm telling you right straight out that if you are at all
but it does show
sensitive,
if
you're at all queasy, then don't watch this film. Just
the thing.
put on the late.
So the question is, do I show the thing?
I don't think it will age restrict you. It might not even show it since they showed it on network
Everyone else who is not every other instance of it where it's not official mainstream news footage, it has been age restricted. So
interesting.
I'm thinking maybe I just go up to the point and then just jump ahead.
Holy shit, dude!
This is
Abraham ZAPRUDER.
very heavy.
I'm just doing a Google search on him because it piqued my interest that he was a dress manufacturer. I'm like, did he make any of Onassis or Jackie Kennedy's dresses? But I found out he's a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, and that's just on his Wikipedia. Yeah,
aren't they all?
That's crazy.
Aren't they all? If you walk around Dealey Plaza, conspiratards will still talk to you and demand money. Well, that's annoying. I wouldn't fucking give them. What do they want money for? For a story? Go away.
I thought about
X marks there still. I bet they do now because they've probably got it all approved. But this, yeah, I'm sure they do now. But like, this video was back in like the 70s or 80s, I think, that I'm talking about.
They set up ZAPRUDER to film the assassination, bro. I can't believe it. He's a Mason. Of course he was involved.
Everyone in this whole story seems to be involved in like masonry, like 33rd degree masonry. Yeah. Zapruder might give you a copy strike.
That's crazy.
That doesn't belong to Zapruder anymore, though.
No, yeah, it belongs to the archives.
It belongs to the archives, so they can't. I don't think Zapruder has any grounds to do that.
Time sold it back to the ZAPRUDER family for $1, and then they stored it at the National Archives Administration.
Yeah.
The film shot by the Dallas dress manufacturer Abraham ZAPRUDER.
Like if I don't end up showing it, if you want to see it, it's in the description.
And it's the execution of President Kennedy. And Bob and Dick, would you please narrate what we're seeing as we show this film?
This is commercial footage leading into Dealey Plaza. This is the car on Main Street.
So this film was taken by actual newsmen. This was spliced together with the Abraham ZAPRUDER film.
Yes.
All right. So this is the beginning of the motorcade.
Okay, what you're seeing now is in slow motion, so that you can grasp what is happening. This is a film taken by Marie Muchmore that leads into the ZAPRUDER film. It's for time continuity. The president is waving to the crowd here.
And Jack
makes this film. Okay. And they're heading now toward Elm Street. They're on Houston Street now. They're going to make a left-hand turn. It's on the corner where they're going to make the turn there that the book depository was. Now, this is the ZAPRUDER film.
Okay, so the cars are coming along now into Dealey Plaza.
Yes, these are the lead motorcycles of the motorcade.
Once he lunges forward in the neck.
The president and Mrs. Kennedy is also Governor Connolly.
Right. Now, before he goes behind the sign, the president is waving to the crowd. When he comes out from behind the sign, he is shot. Then Governor Connolly is shot.
We almost ran into Explosion Head. Right after this moment, it happens. So you can see Kennedy. This is a poor quality version of it, but obviously it's been rebroadcast through a television network years ago. You can see Kennedy has now clasped his throat. So the first shot's been fired. The second shot comes directly after this. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It comes right through the camera frame here, and Jackie Onassis has to pick up parts of his brain off the back of the Cadillac. People think that she's trying to run and grab like the bodyguard's hand. No, she was literally picking up pieces of his brain matter off the car, thinking that.
Why? Why would you do that?
I don't know, but you can actually, like, after I learned that was the fact, you can watch it back and you can definitely see that's what she is doing. She is doing that. She's grabbing the parts of his brain, like, almost to think like they'll need that back at Parkland Hospital. I don't think they used it.
Just trying to grab the bullet.
Lincoln is a hell of a car, no doubt. That's the car that they're in, right? It's a modified one, though. Wasn't this one heavily modified to have because there's 6 people in here.
Yeah,
and this is a Mandela effect. This is a Mandela effect. A lot of people remember 4 people, and a lot of people remember 6. I think we've seen, so there's 2 drivers. There's the Secret Service guys, and then there's Jackie and Jack. They called him Jack Kennedy. I don't know why, but
Yeah. I really think that it was done with the handgun. There's too much potential to hit somebody else. You could just be off by a split hair when you're taking that shot and hit your unintended target, and that wouldn't cause the same effect as actually killing Kennedy. Like, I think somebody in that car likely did it.
the next shot is odd. The one from the headshot is not from within the car, because you can see in a frame. I was going through it by freeze frame last night, and you can see the trajectory of it coming in. So you can actually see where the bullet's coming from. It's a very split moment, but you can see this. It's unambiguous. There is definitely a bullet, and it's coming from this direction, and it definitely hits him from the front. But that's just one angle. It's very hard to triangulate from that. Where outside like here. Oh, you can't see my mouse. Outside this point here, where you can't tell where it is beyond that, but it does come in from there.
Okay.
I'm not going to show it because I don't want to get banned today. I'm only new at this. I might try that and put a few more followers, but
on Rumble you could definitely show shit like that.
Yeah, I know. On Rumble you can show it,
but YouTube's, I understand.
The babushka lady you might have seen just for a moment there.
Babushka.
I want to show something. They reckon that the babushka lady is because she was the only person standing while everyone else was down on the ground, and she's also one of the only people that they couldn't find. And this is a really far out one, but quite funny. But they reckon the babushka lady is Philippine de Rothschild. Let's have a look.
That would make so much sense.
So
it's definitely true.
Because they never found it to this day.
This reminds me of the polka dot dress lady.
Is this music alright?
I love it.
Am I gonna get busted for it? So this is the babushka ladies in all of the photos that they could find her in on the day.
What is she doing?
And she's the only one standing. Only one standing. Everyone's running for their life.
It's a ritual.
What, that's music? Turn it off then.
No, I think she's the ritual.
Magic spells on, I think. Oh, okay.
She's doing like the Travis Scott thing.
Right. You seem to be holding nothing by holding it. Oh. Babushka lady was seen to be holding a camera by eyewitnesses and was also seen in film accounts of the assassination, such as this much more frame and ZAPRUDER frame 285. She was observed standing on the grass between Elm and Main Streets, and she can be seen in the ZAPRUDER film as well. In the films of the Orville Nix, Marie much more, and Mark. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of names I don't know.
Okay.
They're referring to the films.
She's the camera gun, bro.
Well, that reminds me of the. Should I go through it? I'll finish this first.
She shot him in the face with the camera gun.
So they'll show some modern photos of her now. It does look like her, but it's hard. It's a match, right? It's a pretty good match. Philippine Rothschild died at 23 August 2014. She was 30 years old at the time.
So she's old enough to look like that. Okay.
Yeah. And I checked her date of birth. She was 30 at the time. I don't understand what this is about.
Oh, no. Gematria,
I don't
bro.
get it. Yeah, this person's obviously, you know, you get the point, but like I couldn't figure out anywhere where that is in reference to this. That's nowhere in this image.
Well, most deep conspiracy theorists think that like big assassinations or world events are almost always occult rituals, and that there's people in place and things in place.
Oh, I don't deny that. I don't deny that. Even
Entities.
if I don't have to go to the extent of believing everything they believe, I believe that they believe it.
Yeah,
And they act
right.
out on those beliefs. So, you know, as crazy as certain things sound, it's like, well, you don't have to believe in it for them to, like, and for them to be acting on that. I think you meant I wouldn't show it. Yeah, I wouldn't show it. I think you meant, yeah. YouTube is shitty like that. I know. I see people looking, standing around where shots been fired. Some people just do stand like there, go, yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, I haven't really been around too many gunshots.
Shit,
So
not in Albuquerque, bro. We be hiding and shit.
it's possible though. Crazy nut.
Who, me?
No,
Does he call
I
me?
think you're talking
He's
about.
probably calling me.
I think it's maybe both of us, or maybe Philippa de Rothschild, Philippine. What's her name? Anyway, that's the story of that lady. Then there was this interesting thing I wanted to show you about. This is just kind of funny. A story about the This is more of a debunking of the Umbrella Man. So the Umbrella Man. Do you remember the story of the Umbrella Man?
I don't know much about this dude. Was he rumored to be Howard Hunt or something? Like a agent?
So, well, there was one guy, there was one person in Dealey Plaza that day. Out of everyone, there was no one else but him, or this one person, wearing an umbrella, because it was a bright, beautiful day. And this guy goes into it, and this is the guy that actually named the umbrella.
Was it a black umbrella?
Yes, it was a black umbrella.
Oh, this is from Errol Morris? That guy is fantastic.
This is just
In
short.
December 1967, John Updike was writing Talk of the Town for the New Yorker, and he spent most of that Talk of the Town column talking about the Umbrella Man. He said that his learning of the existence of the Umbrella Man made him speculate that in historical research, there may be a dimension similar to the quantum dimension in physical reality. If you put any event under a microscope, you will find a whole dimension of completely weird, incredible things going on. It's as if there's the macro level of historical research where things sort of obey natural laws and usual things happen and unusual things don't happen. And then there's this other level where everything is really weird.
Right, like this.
On November 22nd, it rained the night before, but everything cleared by about 9 or 9:30 in the morning. So if you were looking at various photographs of the motorcade route and the crowds gathered there, you will have noticed nobody's wearing a raincoat. Nobody has an open umbrella. Why? Because it's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers.
And then I noticed in all of Dallas, there appears to be exactly one person standing under an open black umbrella.
There it is.
What the fuck?
Just
and that
barely
person
make it out.
is standing where the shot.
Uh-oh.
Oh, look at the hand.
I know you can see the hand, but
What does he have in his hand?
it's a rose for his wife. No, I don't know. I don't think
it's
rain.
Please don't show it. Please don't show it. Okay. Phew.
Let us call him the Umbrella Man.
Did you name the Umbrella Man?
Yes. You can see him in the certain frames from the ZAPRUDER film standing right there by the Stemmons Freeway sign. There are other still photographs taken from other locations in Dealey Plaza, which show the whole man standing under an open black umbrella. The only person under any umbrella in all of Dallas standing right at the location where all the shots come into the limousine. Can anyone come up with a non-sinister explanation for this? So I published this in 6 seconds, but didn't speculate about what it meant or got into any of the conspiracy theories, because
I want to say, by the end of this, he does provide a debunking explanation for this, and it sounds very neat.
That he does.
And believable, but it's kind of also like, really? You accepted that?
Everybody else got into the conspiracy theories.
Look who made the
one
video.
wingnut who published a book
CIA
with a diagram of the umbrella.
So this is like theories of the umbrella that people came up with, that there was a projectile unit inside it, and that was where the shots came from into the limousine, and that it was operated from the handle down here. It's all very elaborate, but this was just stories that people had come up with after the Umbrella Man had become known.
The umbrella was rigged so that there was an aiming device and there was a rocket tube that you could fire a flechette directly into Kennedy's throat.
The Umbrella Man is the real assassin.
That was the idea. That was the source of the hole in the throat, folks, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I asked that the Umbrella Man come forward and explain this. Right? So he did.
Oh my God.
He came forward and
he
went to
into
Washington
Congress.
with his umbrella.
Did he?
And he
Was it? I
testified
mean,
in 1970.
so like you had this much trouble finding the babushka lady, but you could find a guy with a black umbrella to come in and tell the story of what he did and listen to the fucking excuse on it. And I'm just like, hold a minute. I don't know if this guy looks a bit like RFK today, but obviously it's not.
Committee on Assassinations. He explained then why he had opened the umbrella and was standing there that day. The open umbrella was a kind of protest, a visual protest.
But wait.
It wasn't a protest of any of John Kennedy's policies as president. It was a protest.
Really? Why? How is that effective then if you're not protesting him? But get this.
The appeasement policies of Joseph P. Kennedy, John Kennedy's father, when he was ambassador to the court of St. James in 1938 and 39.
Who would know that? Who would know that's a protest?
Well, apparently everyone believes this and takes it to be true, including the Warren Commission. And it's just like, if you pulled that off, if you tried that today, everyone would be like, who's this random cunt in a fucking umbrella? This is not the guy. Like, no one would believe it. No one would take it as true.
Chamberlain's umbrella.
For all we know, he was probably verified, maybe like somehow. But I don't know. Forensics weren't great back then. It was really...
Still not great.
Well, they're a lot better than they were. Like today, you can get like a hair off the ground or just a used cigarette butt or something, and you can tell quite a lot. But none of that was even remotely within reach then.
I would offer a soft rebuttal on that, in that I think DNA testing is quickly. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot of DNA testing be called into question and kind of be labeled a.
Hey, you could be right. I'm prepared to be wrong on that. And it's not like I believe in it like a religion or anything. I pulled that one up. This one here. The Warren Commission was a joke. Yeah. The report wasn't even allowed in court from what I have learned. Well, just like the 9/11 Commission and how like Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld and all that got to testify without swearing oath and without like in a secret room on their own time. And just it was like, what the fuck kind of... That's not an investigation. Wasn't you someone just like hippie Lindsay? Can you get? No, I don't get it. I'm dumb. I just Simpson. But what about the book says I did it?
I love how he's back on Twitter.
If I did it, OJ.
Yeah, He's
Is he back on Twitter?
Yeah, he's popular on Twitter.
Well, so is Hamas. So, I
Hey,
mean, that's what Twitter is.
They'll talk about the Israeli government like that.
I read that and I thought, this is just wacky enough. It has to be true. And I take it.
Oh, I must clarify for everyone, like the powers that be, I do not support Hamas. That's it. All right. And
to be true. What it means is that if you have any fact which you think is really sinister, right, is really obviously a fact which can only point to some sinister underpinnings.
Oh, lost audio. Mm-mm.
Oh, it just went weird.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that was nearly finished anyway. There is another thing. There is another thing that there's a couple of things I want to should go into. Like, first of all, I mentioned that thing before about the well, there's a guy, I don't know if I mentioned it. There's a guy that used to work for DARPA, allegedly, and he was on from the Danny Jones podcast, Concrete podcast, and he described weaponry that the US government has in its possession that is used to trick people with holographics and things like that. And it's visible on radar. It's also visible with the naked eye. And it could, and according to this guy, completely explains away every single piece of even contemporary UFO footage that he's seen. So stuff even that's been released, like with the Fravor stuff. So he says that with this technology, you can excite the air and things to the point, and it's a very fascinating episode. It's called, his name's Robert Duncan. So the Danny Jones Concrete podcast, look it up. I think I've got it linked below. If I don't, I will. But he goes into, because he's on that show, he's on the episode with the Russian guy who has claims to have Havana syndrome, and he's get his voices and stuff in his head, but he's been psychiatrically cleared. But he's like, Robert Duncan has worked with this guy and says, no, that's definite Havana syndrome. This is a directed energy weapon that I know for a fact exists because he worked on them. And
is it the same?
Very, very. Hey.
Oh, sorry. Is it the same as Voice of God technology?
Yes. Oh, he mentions the Voice of God technology in the episode a lot, and I think maybe even in this clip that I'm about to show. I'm wondering if I show that one first or if I should go into the Executive Order 11 thing. Now, I'll show this one first.
I'm fascinated by Voice of God technology, especially the phenomenon of mass shooters and SSRIs. I think there's something about those in tandem that is kind of leading to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Carmen and I were talking about MK Ultra and like the Monarch program. I don't really know heaps about that. Have you heard of that?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've heard of it. Carmen knows about that stuff. She's very fascinating, actually, to talk to about that sort of stuff. Jackie was in shock as it was normal behavior for someone with no training. Oh. Okay.
Sounds like a fad, Arnie. I'm just kidding.
Someone no training, normal behavior. I mean, it is normal to be in shock if someone's head just got exploded and landed in your lap, which is what happened. In case you were curious. I'll say it again. My position on the thrust. Okay, yeah. I just don't want to talk about it. I appreciate you though, and feel free to chat away about it, but I won't go into it personally. What was I going to say? Where is this video? Project Blue Boom. Here it is. Okay, present, share screen. All right, this is Robert Duncan, and
I remember as a child, I made a maser. Maser is like a laser. The M just stands for microwave amplification, stimulated emission radiation. But now we really have guns like that, and the Navy just had hooked up a big argon laser that shoots down missiles on their ships. So you can see the beginnings oftentimes.
What is there's something called like Project Blue Beam?
Yeah, good one.
What is that?
That's
lasers, right?
Yeah, I can.
This answer kind of shocked me. What's this? What's that?
They're kind of like lasers. They're not exactly lasers. I was doing that to the host question. It sounded like a Fed question.
Oh, right. He has frequently on here a bunch of glowies that I really am sus about. There's this one guy with frizzy hair, and he goes by there's something spy. Something spy. He advertises himself on social media as a spy, and he's constantly on podcasts as an ex-CIA spy, and he's constantly watering down every single conspiracy theory except for a few where it'd be like, yeah, no, we did do that, and it's just like, why do you trust these guys? But anyway, this guy I find interesting because you can't find this Robert Duncan anywhere. I tried looking him up, I couldn't find him anywhere. I didn't search for weeks, but I tried to do a cursory search just to see if I could verify if he worked at DARPA. Couldn't find him anywhere.
But that is
hold on, I'll read this from Carmen first. I had a lady on my show, her husband and son both in jail for school shootings. It was a wild story. She claimed the med beds messed with their minds. I lean towards believing her. Well, Colin and we were watching this stuff where they had voice to skull technology, and it was just being played around with in a university, like a college science room, and it was fascinating to watch. Like you can't hear any of the voice in transit. You can only hear it at the target point. So it's like different than an LRAD in a sense, but
it's really bad. But the people that see orbs in the sky.
Yeah,
go around that fly faster.
UFOs.
UFOs.
Yeah, there's Navy pilots. There's multiple Navy pilots who talk about they got there. So they were flying F-18s. These Navy pilots, and one of them's coming in here in 2 weeks. He's Ryan Graves.
Okay.
And Ryan Graves was one of the three that testified at this UFO test. That hearing that I'm real sus about.
He's a Navy pilot flying off the coast of North Carolina, and they got their radar upgraded on their F-18s, and all of a sudden they were seeing these things darting around on their radar.
Okay. Don't tell him what I'm about to say and see if he knows about it.
Okay.
So what we do is we play with our own forces to make sure our trickery will work on the enemy. And those are directed energy weapons of where we do intersecting beams or focus beams into the atmosphere. And notice they're always in the atmosphere to excite the electron orbitals of the oxygen and nitrogen in our atmosphere. It causes a glow and it causes ionization. That ionization shows up on radar and it's like a cat laser pointer, and we're making planes chase them.
That's exactly how they describe these things moving, like laser pointers.
Yeah, and so we can do it in 3 space. We can make it look like
in 3-dimensional space.
Yeah, and we can make it.
So that's like you could make literally what many people were discussing. And I don't want to write this theory off completely, but there's this guy, Ashton Forbes, who's got the MH370 thing. I don't know if you've seen the footage where there's orbs circling around it and it just disappears from the sky. That has a lot of compelling evidence behind it, which is very bizarre to say, but it does. I really want to actually talk to Ashton at some point, but with this kind of information on board, that it's plausible that entire event that we could physically see on camera and with the naked eye could be fake.
Look like an entire fleet is about to drop bombs on, let's say, Europe, and then just have them disappear. And they get all their planes up in the air, and we attack them from the other direction, assuming we're attacking
Who is doing this? The Navy, you said?
Somebody. Let's just say a group.
So he works for DARPA.
A group.
So
or
worked for DARPA. So it's going to be tied with the United States.
And you know this for a fact.
I know it for a fact. Yeah. So anyway, don't tell your guests.
A group within the U.S. government.
Yeah. Okay. We'll leave it at that. Yes.
And is this something that could be seen with the naked eye, or was this something
because
that was
it glows? It glows, so it would be seeable. You can see it by the naked eye, and
crazy.
It would leave a radar trace. So
crazy.
It's perfect
Funny
as
words.
a deception.
Now, have you heard of the accounts of these things going underwater? These things come out of the water, zip around, they fly. There's been accounts of these things going in between when there's two F-18s flying in formation. One of them, they're described as, one of them specifically, which Ryan Graves describes as a sphere with a cube inside, and each apex of the cube is touching the sphere.
Okay, no, I don't know about that technology.
Okay,
so that's different. I know you can make this appear as it goes in water, but it wouldn't have the shape of a cube. You can make them cigar shape. You can.
Interesting that he knows about this, but like again, everything is so heavily compartmentalized. How does he know that you can't manifest a cube within a sphere?
Right.
You can excite the air to a degree where you can create visual effects to the naked eye that are convincing enough to the naked eye to be an enemy attack, on radar to be an enemy attack. How does he know that that the project isn't so heavily compartmentalized to a degree where he's done his bit and everyone else has worked on refining it to the point where we can make Jesus or Mary appear in the sky? He does mention elsewhere in this episode that because this plan was leaked, that was one of the plans, and it was sort of like when Reagan, I've even got it in my intro bumper, where Reagan says, I imagine if all of our differences worldwide would vanish if a force from outer space, and he
it's like good.
Yeah, well, and because he said that 5 separate times. That wasn't just once. That was the one I pulled from him saying it at the UN. But he said it in the exact same cadence and almost script every single time. I imagine if all of our differences worldwide would vanish.
I just want to throw it out there that nothing makes me believe in flat Earth more than blue beam being more and more likely to happen. Nothing.
Fucking come on, man. How do you jump from blue beam to flat Earth?
I'm just saying, dude, if they're so able to perfectly project these things in the atmosphere, the atmosphere is just a perfect backdrop for
this. Kind of reminds me a bit of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whereas sort of like everything can be fit, like or even like Inception. Oh no, not Inception, Interstellar, where like just I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to finish that thought. But anyway, I showed you that bit. It was a little bit off topic, but it illustrates the ability of the military industrial apparatus to pull off some really crazy trickery. And it would be all too perfect for everyone to believe that it's extraterrestrials. It would be perfect because it's so much more believable that could be the possibility than humans have had this technology and successfully hit it for so long that it was not available to anyone else.
I'm really curious as if they're going to link in blue beam with the Israeli-Palestine conflict at some point, especially if that red heifer prophecy is actually not true, but if they're actually gunning towards it,
Oh, there's people definitely gunning towards it. If it's written, if it's a prophecy, then people are gonna be.
If they demolish that mosque,
that will make it.
That's gonna be really insane.
You're talking about the Temple Mount,
the Al-Aqsa, yeah, Al-Aqsa.
Yeah. Anyway, what was it going on to next? I don't know how much long. I've got about half an hour left. I don't know. You can drop out whenever you need to, bro. I don't know how much longer.
I'm good.
Need.
I'm chilling. I'm caffeinated.
There was one thing I was going to show. It was a few things I was going to show, but like, I don't know if people have heard of the Executive Order 11110. It was an executive order signed into place by John F. Kennedy, and it was regarding silver certificates, the issuance of silver certificates. Then now silver certificates were a silver-based dollar that they weren't invented then. No, like it's not an invention of Kennedy's. They've been around since the 1800s. And were eventually phased out. However, one key difference that Kennedy brought in under Executive Order 11110, just a few months before they exploded his head, was that it took control over the issuance of these notes from away from the Federal Reserve and put it into the agency of the Department of Treasury. And so that was seen as like a huge no-no. Like, that's fucking with the money machine. Like when you're talking about fucking with the money machine, we're not talking about messing with people's money. We're talking about messing with the machine that is money. There are people that actually own money, not denominations of money. They own the system that is money.
Well, they confiscated our gold in 1971, right? Is that the year they went door to door?
I think, yeah, it was Woodrow Wilson that did that. I think it was Woodrow Wilson that did that.
Well, Woodrow Wilson helped create the Federal
different
Reserve, but I think the gold thing happened under
gold
Nixon.
standard. Well, it happened under several presidents. There was different phases. Yeah, so I think like Nixon was the nail and the final nail, I believe, when it was.
All right. That makes sense. Wilson was a demon.
Yeah, and he's got a bunch of interesting quotes that sort of sound like he claimed to be this like super altruistic man with like all these noble wise men, like, you know, never give all this unfettered power out to people, like exactly what you fucking did with the Federal Reserve and Jekyll Island and shit. Like
people think he was funded by the Rothschilds. Even that's some of the.
Well, if they are the people that own money,
yeah.
Not just money.
Cartman knows about the red heifers. Base.
Red heifers are identified as they become. Yeah. Oh, Carmen knows all about this stuff. Carmen is very, very intelligent lady. In fact, I'd love to have Carmen back sometime soon.
She's got to follow my channel.
She was a great guest. I was really nervous about having her on, but she just made it really easy. She's so easy to talk to. 1934, 71, you weren't allowed to own gold. Yeah. Oh, you weren't allowed to own it at all, any bullion at all. Because that was during the time. So between 37 and 71 was the time when the government was doing all the buying back. And in between that period, there was, so the Executive Order 11110 was the issuance of silver certificates by the Department of Treasury. So, and they were redeemable for silver bullion or coins. And so they didn't want that. They got rid of that real quick. Mm-hmm. So let's just have a quick look at a video on that. Present, share. I don't know if this is the one or if it's like... Oh, wait, did I do... I need to fucking share. Sorry, this is super professional. I did share audio.
Maybe your Rebel volumes. Oh, there you go.
1963, President John F. Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110, which authorized the U.S. Treasury to start printing a new form of the silver certificate called the United States Note. John F. Kennedy issued $4 billion worth of this new cash money, free of debt, free of interest, and it was enough money to allow the nation to conduct its business without needing to involve the private Federal Reserve Bank.
And so that's the central issue. Well. We're at dangerous territory.
They love it. They love showing that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. Here she is picking up his brains. Can I scooch back that far? Oh, I'm going to see an exploded head, aren't I? This is dangerous. See, she's picking up the brains. She's picking up pieces of brain.
Harvey Oswald.
I'm not.
I didn't shoot anybody, sir. I haven't been told what I'm here for. This is the basement floor of the Dallas City Hall.
That's Jack Ruby shooting down Lee Harvey Oswald. That I might be on the edge for that, but
Jack Rubenstein.
You can see the photo of that, like the famous shot of Oswald being shot and pulling that face. And Jack Ruby and like with the gun, it's like super, and everyone's got their Texan cowboy hats on, and the police in the background are like, "Huh? What's going on?" It's a funny photo. I know it shouldn't be like.
Didn't he die in jail too a few years later, Jack Ruby?
Jack Ruby died of like a cancer-related thing or some sort of heart disease or something. Because I tried to look into that a little bit, but it just seemed like it was natural causes.
Dude, you know who you should try to get on because I can't get him on. You should try to get on John Hinckley Jr., the guy who shot Reagan. You should reach out to him.
Oh. Yeah, but
wild.
I'd like to actually visit the United States one day. I'd rather not be
he's a musician.
entry at the fucking yeah. But I mean that would be interesting. I'd be like, why'd you shoot him? But I don't want to go on a list before I make it there.
I'm already there.
I don't want to ever be on a list. I'm a good guy. I promise you, United States. Uncle Sam, let me in, please.
You look like the kind of guy that would sneak over exotic pets in your luggage and try to sell them.
No way. They drill that shit. Have you ever tried to do that here? They will like kill you. They're like crazy. The Australian Border Patrol is nasty. Like they spray pesticide in your face when you fly into the Sydney airport.
What?
It's crazy.
That sucks.
Yeah. It's crazy. But anyway, can I say this on thing? I didn't say it, so I'm just going to put it up there.
What? Why did you say that?
Oswald has been shot.
And as soon as Kennedy was buried, the United States notes were pulled out of circulation and destroyed, except for samples in the hands of collectors. Now, when I first proposed this linkage between the monetary system and the assassination of our world leaders, I got an email saying, well, that's nonsense. I mean, how do you know it wasn't Cuba or the Russians or whatever else? And I'll be the first to admit there were overlapping agendas. There were a lot of people who wanted Kennedy dead for a lot of different reasons, but if there is no link to his U.S. notes, then why was John J. McCloy, former president of the World Bank, former president of the Manhattan Bank, appointed
Council
to the
on Foreign
Warren
Relations,
Commission?
Board,
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind of a man McCloy was. He is not a homicide investigator, and the Warren Commission was supposed to be investigating the assassination.
No, don't show it, please. Don't show it.
Jackie, blasted
I'm not queasy about this. I've seen it thousands of times. I'd like to
President of the United States. What is a bank president doing on the Warren Commission if there is no connection?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Don't tread on me.
There's so many people connected to this, and there are so many power players involved. And I think it's a really entangled web. Anybody that has been rumored in the conspiracy theories from all of the edges of the internet, they're all kind of related to each other, even if you think it's a different person.
Well, that's why this was an attractive story, especially because it'll be 60 years on the 22nd. And we still don't know the truth, really. I know a lot of people believe they do, but we don't know verifiably. And as I was saying with Ivo, because I know he believes in the official story, and it could be true, and I don't discount that outright. But this does invoke a lot of these other issues, like things like executive orders, where they take powers away from the Federal Reserve, and why that's a bad thing to do in their eyes. Like that's really that's poking the bear. Even though it was only supposed to be a transitionary thing, it was the whole idea of taking power away from the Fed that was just the big no-no, right? And then it's the opportunity also to talk about things like Operation Northwoods, which whether or not it was related, it was a real thing. And it needs to be discussed and needs to be more widely known about, because these things seem like old tropes to me a lot of the time, because, I got really balls deep on a lot of this conspiracy stuff maybe a decade or so ago. And it's sort of like all of the old and goldies, I kind of seen them and read all about them, but then sort of forgot about them over the years as I got back into life and stuff. And then just sort of assumed because I knew about all that stuff that other people would too. But even today, in the last week, I'm asking people, have you heard of MK Ultra? And they're like, well, I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. And I'm like, wow, So, I mean, no shame on them, but it's just like there is so many people that don't even know what these terms mean, and they're being used all the time now. And they're real things. So, and Karma
MK
here
Ultra
says,
was fun.
fun is a word.
I
Daniel,
love
I
it.
think your live chat numbers are being suppressed. I have 5 friends watching. Well, thank you very much for sending your friends and sharing my link. Arnie also, and Ivor and Daniel were way more than 6. Yeah, I don't know. I think YouTube is just that metric on the thing. I think it's just off. I think afterwards the numbers are still off, but less off, if that makes sense. On unrelated note, if you're looking for laughs, you should check out my one YouTube video. It's me and my brother's having too much fun with Tannerite.
That's awesome.
Penn and Teller have a great JFK episode.
I bet they do, Ivor.
Yeah, I bet they do.
Normies.
I did lots of research on it. Yeah, fuck you, Uncle Ivor. No, we love you though. But again, I'm not trying to push any specific like narrative. I'm not saying either way who did it, but like it was the CIA.
I really don't think
Lee
Harvey Oswald had anything to do with it. I think he was an absolute patsy. I really do.
I lean towards him being a patsy, but again, I don't discount the original thing outright. And Carmen has just followed you on Twitter. Yep, that's him. Free Jerry88. The letter shall not be named.
Oh
yeah. We don't call it that here.
That's hilarious.
I use the logo on my thumbnails because it's like that's what people recognize it as now. But I sort of almost want to put the bird back there. But over time, people are not going to know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I call it. I never call it X. I always call it Twitter. But I use the X logo on my thumbnails because that's just what it is now. But anyway, I mean, I had other stuff here, but like, there's a little video. You want to hear RFK's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s?
Yeah, I want to hear his rewriting of the narrative for sure.
Yeah, he believes the CIA was involved in both his father and his uncle's thing, but he says that he says that he has he's personally convinced of the CIA's involvement in his father's death. However, he believes that to be more circumstantial and less solid than the evidence that he seems to have or believe in on his uncle's death. So I'll go into the
fucking RFK.
Yeah, interesting guy.
I used to be into him for a second, but then I'm like, oh man, he seems to be there for a reason.
Things to say. Present. Let's have a look at what he has to say.
I just want to know how
I am making fun.
I wonder how he gets to say all the shit he gets to say without being thrown in jail.
Because he's a Kennedy. He's a Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
This is what this goes back to, like, he's this massive, powerful family.
Never before.
Since before, like, even if you want to go and believe the Umbrella Man story, this family's been pissing off the American public for a long time.
But this shows that they're bought now, though. I think this shows that they're controlled.
Oh, potentially, yeah.
Or has a political assassination.
So he had to come to Australia news because
being subject.
Everything's on Sky News.
That's Australia, the Fox News of Australia. I love it.
Yeah, it is.
To so much speculation, the death of US President John F. Kennedy, one of the darkest chapters in US history, has generated its own library of conspiracy theories. But his nephew, Democrats' presidential hopeful Robert Kennedy Jr., says the CIA was responsible for the murder beyond any reasonable doubt. Robert Kennedy has told Sky News senior reporter Adam Walters the CIA remains involved in covering up its role in the 60th anniversary year of the Dallas shooting.
It was a crime that stopped the world in its tracks on November 22, 1963.
And the first unconfirmed reports say the president...
They're going to show it. They're going to show it. These fucking saying goodbye to Carmen. Thank you for coming, Carmen. She is the best.
Was hit in the head. That's an unconfirmed.
Did they show it? I don't know
I
if
don't
they
think.
did.
At 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
President's wife, Jackie Kennedy, was not hurt. She walked into the hospital at her husband's stretcher side.
More than 1,000 books have been written since with theories on who was responsible for a conspiracy to murder JFK, his nephew, Robert Kennedy Jr., photographed here with his uncle as a young boy in the Oval Office, has told Sky News the assassination is no mystery to him.
How do you align what you believe and what you know in terms of what actually happened?
The evidence, the mountain of evidence that the CIA was not only involved in my uncle's murder, but that but they were also managed the cover-up and continue to. They still won't release the last 5,000 documents.
5,000.
It's beyond any reasonable doubt.
That's more than 28 fucking pages of the 9/11 Commission report. 5,000 documents still missing from the Warren Commission. 5,000.
Attorney, I've tried hundreds of cases. I have no doubt at all that I could try that case and convict certain members of the CIA, people, who were clearly involved in my uncle's death, who we know, whose names we know, many of whom have made confessions. Many of them were deathbed confessions.
The sniper arrested for firing the fatal shots, Lee Harvey Oswald, was shot dead 2 days later, and Robert Kennedy was not surprised to learn that a 2013 poll showed 61% of Americans believed the gunman was not acting alone.
Did we ever find out why Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner, wanted him dead? Was he just that upset about the president?
Allegedly.
You can tell I researched this.
But why would a Jewish gangster be so upset with Kennedy's assassination, right? If allegedly they're rival factions historically. The Kennedys and the other mobsters did not necessarily get along with each other in their day. Meyer Lansky and other folks.
Gotcha.
We know now the American public knows for the first time.
Because they're to clean up.
Oswald was a CIA asset. He was working for the CIA, and he was recruited to the CIA since 1957, and that his movements were all managed by the CIA.
The motivation, he says, could be proven to be JFK's rejection of advice from his military and intelligence advisors to invade communist Cuba and his later reluctance to deploy in Vietnam. 4 years and 7 months after Dallas, his father, Robert Francis Kennedy, was gunned down in Los Angeles as he campaigned to finish the job his brother started.
Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible? Is that possible? Everybody else, just please stay back. Just a doctor, come right here.
My father, the evidence that his murder was the result of the CIA is very, very strong, but it is circumstantial. I personally am quite certain of it, but it's not the kind of, clear and undisputable evidence as in my uncle's case.
You're 14 when you lost your dad. You're 69 now. Is that teenager who misses his father still very much a part of you all these years later?
My mom told me something years and years ago when one of my brothers died. I had a conversation with her about whether the hole that people leave in you when they die, the people you love, ever gets any smaller. And she says, no, it never gets any smaller. It's always there. But our job is to try to grow ourselves bigger around it. And we do that by taking the best parts of that individual, the most admirable parts of their characters and their greatest virtues, and trying to integrate them into our own character and discipline through discipline. And in doing that, we make ourselves larger. And in that way, the whole gets disproportionately smaller.
I'll leave it there because he's, bless him, but he's hard to listen to.
Very much so.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. So maybe I should, and I'm running out of videos to talk about. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff about multiple shooter theories. Oh, did I show you that guy? Should I quickly show you this guy that got arrested for the conspiracy theories?
Sure. I don't know
is
this
quite
guy.
funny. And in fact, right at the bumper of this, it shows that Geraldo thing. Not for long though.
Fucking Geraldo.
I'm telling you right out that if you are at all sensitive, if you're at all queasy, movie.
President, he died for what he believed in. And I felt that we had no right to turn our back on his memory.
Bob and Dick, would you please narrate what we're seeing as we...
Getting a copy of the famous home movie of the Kennedy assassination would change Robert Groden Night America. It led to a job as the chief photo optics consultant for the House Select Committee on Assassinations, created in part as a response to the release of the film.
They, in their final report, said that it was, in fact, organized crime, that there was, in fact, a conspiracy.
When the 6th floor museum opened in Dealey Plaza, Robert was surprised they wouldn't talk about any of the other theories.
They just didn't want the truth out there, and that upset me. It upset me terribly. So I moved down here and started to set up in Dealey Plaza on weekends to let people know that there was an alternative to the official fiction. And the city didn't like that. The 6th floor museum didn't like that.
Over the course of 25 years in Dealey Plaza, Robert has been arrested twice and has been ticketed by the city 82 times.
I've won every case, all of those cases, because I hadn't broken any laws. The stuff that they charged me with were incredible things. Vending on private property, selling private property, vending on public property, selling personal property, blocking sidewalks, even though we weren't on the sidewalk,
try to get him
vending without a permit, even though permits don't exist. They just don't exist. There aren't any. There's no need for them. You couldn't buy one if you had $1 billion.
You know, there's the whole idea of arresting somebody in the United States of America.
That beats hair.
That's what he was arrested for, selling a magazine.
One time, the city sent in Homeland Security, complete with the outfits and machine guns, the whole bit.
Hold on.
It really got ridiculous.
Hold on. Homeland Security. I don't know when this, because I thought, as far as I understood, Homeland Security was only a post 9/11 thing.
He could be just misnaming it now. It probably has existed in a different form.
Yeah.
I don't know what the agency would be. But I think the FBI was responsible for Homeland Security prior, right?
I mean, it would have come under the agency of someone, but like was it created? Yeah, 2002, after 9/11. So he must be talking about either an incident post 2001 or 2002, excuse me, or he's lying, or he's not lying because he's got this legal history. So he's just
I'm not a danger to anybody.
The original charges were based on one ordinance that didn't apply.
They could all be
and
lying.
when that was pointed out to the municipal court, they amended the charges against him to cite a different ordinance, which also didn't apply.
They just didn't want me there. They wanted me gone, and they felt that arresting me would scare me off.
For 20 years, Robert has been placing the iconic X on the exact spot where Kennedy was shot.
The city came by and they dug up that entire section of street to get rid of the X.
Imagine that.
Can you believe it?
Not really.
When we asked why, they said, we don't want anyone tripping over the X. Like maybe 1/4 of a millimeter thick. It's crazy. All of this for just speaking my mind on a nationally important issue.
After the second arrest in 2010, Groden took the case to trial, and, as always, the charges were dismissed. This time, however, the city appealed.
The dismissal of a Class C misdemeanor is not appealed. It's never appealed. I'm talking to criminal defense lawyers around town, and even to the city attorneys who were involved in this case. They couldn't identify, and no one has been able to identify a single other case ever in history where the city of Dallas appealed a dismissal of a Class C misdemeanor.
Keziah began searching for answers as to why the city would pursue such a prosecution. And in the process, uncovered emails between the city council and the sixth floor museum. They contained detailed discussions about how to deal with the vendor problem in Dealey Plaza. According to Keziah, they were evidence of intent to maliciously prosecute Grodin.
See, like conspiracy theories, they're punishing for that. Like that's kind of the banner that they're trying to cast us under now. Like we're domestic terrorists now for thinking that certain things might not be true. That's basically where it's going.
Sixth Floor Museum in the city of Dallas declined to comment on the story.
He wouldn't have been arrested if the sixth floor hadn't called him that day, the day that he was arrested. That's for sure.
A friend of mine bailed me out within an hour and a half of the arrest. They held me for an additional 9 hours.
The city attorney could have shut that down, obviously. Could have and should have.
After the appeal and, once again, dismissal of the case, Grodin and Keziah took both the sixth floor museum and...
This building was in a movie, wasn't it? But it was a modified version of this. Like they added CGI to the top of it. I remember it from some film. This is like the City Hall building in Dallas, I think.
I don't recognize it, but it
Public
looks
Archives
pretty...
or Record.
Looks pretty strange.
Yeah, in the film there was like there was levels built on top of it to make it like into a tower, but it was
looks
like this
Masonic.
A little bit. You should. Well, it looks a bit like the Masonic Lodge down here in Sydney, in the city. It does look actually a little bit like that. It's kind of brutalist architecture, but a lot of things were back from that era. I'm not sure which guys you're referring to. Probably the guys on the film, but maybe it's us.
Maybe it's me.
Maybe it's us. I don't know. I think I'm going to wrap it up there because like I've run out of shit to sort of go over and I don't have any real answers. I just wanted to just jump into this story a little bit and make people think, get them aware of certain terms. And it's not necessarily for anyone who's watching now because I know that most people that watch now are kind of up to speed on this sort of stuff. But if I have people watching in the future, it'll be something that they can hopefully learn something from.
For sure. I think just a quick little takeaway for me and why I think this story so fascinates that I think there are like 3 conspiracies in our time where if they ever allow the truth to seep out in a factual basis, like the whole facade shatters. I think it's the JFK assassination, 9/11, and Jeffrey Epstein. Now I think you can add that to the list, but those are
well, yeah, I don't know if I'd put the Jeffrey Epstein there, but it does almost seem like I have to think about that.
At least the origins.
I know exactly what you mean. Like the first 2, I definitely 100% agree with. I don't disagree with Jeffrey Epstein, but I don't know. That's a tricky one. We certainly don't know what's going on. But I don't know if I put it at the same magnitude as murdering the president and murdering 3,000 people in the financial district of New York. I just don't think.
I think the same powers that be behind Epstein could have maybe been the progenitors of, and did certain things like this in the past.
He had information on people, whatever it was. I don't think we'll ever know what that information is.
Like, I'm curious as to what the Epstein operation was like 1998. Like, what was it right before he met the people that?
Yeah. Well, there's all sorts of interesting links like Mossad and all sorts of stuff. I'll leave it there. I won't get into that.
That's right.
I don't want to get banned today. But yeah. All right. Thanks for joining me. Is there anything else you wanted to plug before? I've linked your Rumble below. We're also simulcasting to your Rumble right now. So is there anything else you wanted to plug?
Yeah, Cosmic Radio on Rumble. I have more followers on my creator channel because I didn't know how to set it up at the beginning. I was silly, but that's rumble.com/user/Cosmic Marauder. And please check out the Cosmic Show. It's also on audio only formats, and I do it once a week with my buddy at Life in a Sub, aka Mars Bar. So That's it for me.
Oh yeah, Mars Bars. He's a lad. He's funny.
Yeah, he's good.
All right. Thanks, brother. And you can find me everywhere at Daniel Clancy on pretty much every platform. If you get confused, just go to danielclancy.live, and that's where all of my links are. So I don't have an outro, so we're just going to end it here. I'm still working on an outro. I'll see you guys next time.